My name is Emily Stella, and I'm here today to talk to you about a fatal gastrointestinal disease called Johne's. First, the disease was first clearly described in a dairy cow in 1885 by a German man. He was really worried about his cow because his cow was losing a lot of weight, and so he sent his cow's blood to a farm in England. And in England, they were doing a lot of research on cows at that time, so they discovered the disease Johne's. As far as what it is, the infection happens in the first few months of an animal's life, and the animal could stay healthy for a really long time and you wouldn't even know that it was infected. What causes it is a bacterium. It's abbreviated MAP, and it's Microbacterium avium subspecies partuberculosis, and that's what causes the disease. It can replicate outside of the host, which is why the disease is so deadly. It's resistant to heat, cold, drying, and it can also, a lot of my research says that it can resist pasteurization and chlorine, so this is why it's so deadly, because it stays on the farm for so long. The primary site targeted by Johne's is the lower part of the ileum, and it mostly affects ruminant species. Nobody really understands what causes a clinically normal animal to become infected with this, but it's mostly due to a low immune system, so it happens to calves or older cows because their immune system is so low, so their antibodies, they don't produce enough antibodies to kill the bacterium. As far as symptoms, there's only two that I could look up. Rapid weight loss and diarrhea. Usually it's rapid weight loss because the where the bacterium attaches in the ileum, it causes inflammation, and which makes it so the animal doesn't absorb the correct nutrients that it needs to sustain life. So it's very rapid once it hits, but you really don't notice it. It could be for years because the bacterium can hide in the body and it just decides to come out whenever it decides to. As far as how it's spread, a healthy looking infected animal could be purchased from a herd owner, and then it can be added to another herd. And as far as the way it looks, you can't even tell because it's inside of the body, and it can infect all of your animals, and you wouldn't even know. It can replicate outside of the host also, and it spreads very rapidly. Usually, I'll just give you an example. If, like, say, a cow goes to the bathroom and the microsporum can be in the feces, and then it will be in the soil, and it can stay in the soil because it can adapt to the different climates. It'll stay in the soil, and then say another cow comes over and then it'll eat the grass, and then bam, it's infected. As far as diagnosis, there are 3 ways to diagnose, and it's very important to diagnose for this because since there's only 2 symptoms, there can be a ton of other diseases that would be associated with these symptoms. So it's very important to confirm the diagnosis. As far as the 3 ways, you can do a cultural or fecal sample. It's more expensive, but it's very effective. You can isolate the bacterium MAP using an ELISA or an agate test. This is less expensive, but it's also less effective, so they don't usually use that one. The third is doing a blood test, and this will be effective because your body builds up antibodies to the disease, so the antibodies will be picked up in the blood. It's not, as far as treatment, I really didn't find much on the treatment because it is a deadly disease. But today veterinarians have had minimal luck with an antibiotic, but they're still testing it, doing in vitro, which is growing the bacterium inside of a test tube, and then they are, using different kinds of antibiotics to determine what works best in killing the bacteria. It's not been considered economically prudent to treat this way because the chances of curing it are very low. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but the bacterium can hide in white blood cells. So if you were to do a treatment, a lot of the bacterium could jump into white blood cells and the treatment would do nothing to them. So you'd be killing some of them, but not all of them at once. So since treatment really isn't effective, you can then prevent. That's the most important thing. Right when you find out that your animal is diagnosed with this disease, you should check for your herd. You should get blood samples from your herd, do fecal samples, find out if it's infecting your whole herd. Because if it does, then it can be a deadly disease for all of your animals. The most effective control measure is to remove newborn calves from the dam immediately, because their immune system is so low that they can get it immediately after being born. Calves should also receive colostrum because that ups their immunity to such diseases as this. You should also keep the area dry, clean of manure, and well bedded, because a clean area will keep away such diseases. And the microsporum likes to grow in dirty areas, especially because of the manure where it can increase. And then in conclusion, a fun thing that I found is that Crohn's disease is the human equivalence to this. For a dictionary definition, Crohn's disease is a form of inflammatory bowel disease. It usually affects the intestines, but may occur anywhere from the mouth to the end of the rectum. According to research, this is the 100% equivalence, and it's also said that this disease can be zoonotic, which means that it can be transformed and can be adapted into the human form. I chose this topic because my 8th grade teacher had Crohn's disease, and it was actually kind of interesting because I never really knew what it was. And she would just run out of the classroom because she had to go to the bathroom. And all of us would laugh about it, but really it's not anything to laugh about because it's very serious. She can't control her bowel movements. She has to watch what she eats because her body literally can't absorb any of the nutrients that it needs. But the only difference with the human version is that there are treatments, because obviously humans are more important to us than cows are. Well, I hope you learned a lot. And if you have a cow on your farm that has this disease, make sure that you do get all of your calves separated, and just, take controllable measures to keep this out of your herd.